Okay, in this video, we'll be working on the February-March 2019 paper, paper 2, okay? Now, I'm not going to complete the entire paper. We're just going to focus on the data manipulation practical portion of the paper, which means that for data manipulation, I will also not be touching on the theory. So this video will be purely about how to complete the practical portion of data manipulation. Now, for those of you who are in my class, I've actually assigned the paper to you guys in Google Classroom, and you can actually find it under the Prep for Test 2. Okay, so 2019 March paper 2, right? Not 2019 October, November paper 2, right? So we'll be looking at question starting from question number 18, right? Now, and if the questions are actually theory questions or theoretical questions, we're going to skip those questions first, and then I'm going to discuss those questions in another video. So again, this video will be focusing primarily on the practical portion of the paper. All right, so we'll be working on the task number 3, which is on page, no freaking clue what page is this? Page number 5. Okay, so we're going to start from question 18 all the way until question 28, right? Okay, so let's have a look at question 18 first. Now, because question 18 is a theoretical question, we're going to skip that, and then we're going to move on to question 19. All right, now it says create a new relational database, right? So the application for you to create that is Microsoft Access, right? So open that, and we're going to select new, okay, and create a blank database. All right, now please take note that you are not creating the blank database in your documents folder. This goes to my students because you are supposed to store it in your student drive, right? So I'm going to select the browse for a location to put your database, and then you guys are supposed to select your student drive or your working folder if you guys are working on a test paper at home. All right, so I'm just going to save it in the resource files folder, right? So I'm gonna give it a meaningful name, DB maybe, for example, and I'm gonna just create it. Okay, now import the file m19 students as a table. Now, if I want to import something, I'm actually getting the file from a source outside the database, right? So it means that I need to go to external data. So I'm going to select external data, and because the external file is a CSV file and a CSV file is a text file, right? I need to import a text file. All right, so I'm going to go to new data source, and I'm going to select from file, and I'm going to select from text file. Now, for you guys who are using perhaps an older version, perhaps 2016 or 2013, the text file will be shown here. Now, take note that you need to select the option under the import category, not the export. So if you select text file here, that's incorrect. Okay, you are getting something from outside, not inside. All right, so I'm going to import a text file. I'm going to go to browse, and I'm just going to go to where I have my folder. Okay, and the file that I'm importing is m19 students, right? So I'm just going to select this file, and I'm going to click open. Now, one thing to take note, right, is that before you guys import the file, please do not open the Excel file, the text file, and look at it, okay, and leave it open. Because if you leave it open, Access will not be able to import the text file. All right, so I'm going to select import the source data into a new table in the current database, because that's what I'm doing. I'm going to select next, and then the first thing I need to do is to make sure that the first row actually contains the field names, right? So the first row contains field names, and so I'm going to select this checkbox, okay? And I'm going to select next. Now, how do you know that you've perhaps screwed up the previous question? if I did not check the checkbox here and I select next, notice that the field names actually become field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4, field 5, and field 6, right? This doesn't make sense. If you go back, you will notice that again, the first row are actually field names and they are not part of the data here. So you need to select first row contain field names. All right, I'm going to go to next and I'm going to go to advanced. Right, so now I need to compare the data type here with the data type that you guys can see in question 19. All right, so short text all the way. Short text is good. So when it comes to text, just make it a habit to select short text. But when it comes to integer or numbers that do not have decimal places, select long integer. All right. As to why, I think I've explained myself in class quite frequently already. So basically, the reason why you are selecting long integer is because to account for the possibility that the numbers that you are importing will be big. Right, so long integer can hold a bigger number compared to short integer, right? So anyway, you're gonna import that, okay, and then after that, paid is Boolean or logical, so that means it's a yes/no data type. It means a field that can have only one of two values, so true or false, male or female, yes and no, right? So that's Boolean data type. Okay, so I'm gonna click OK. I'm going to click next, then it's going to ask me to select the primary key. Now, if you look at question 19, okay, it says set the roll underscore number as the primary key. So I'm going to choose my own primary key and make sure that roll number is selected as a primary key. I'm going to go to next. No, don't need to change anything of the table. I'm going to click finish. All right, so I'm going to close that. So when I open the table, you guys will notice that the data has been successfully imported. Now, am I done with this question? Not really. Because if you look at the notes in the table, it says the paid field should be displayed as yes or no. Currently, it's displayed as 0 and -1. So 0 is basically a no, a -1 is basically a yes. So you need to go into design view here, select paid, and then the format, okay, I need to change it to yes or no. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to close everything, and I'm going to open the table again to make sure that it's saved as yes or no. All right, so evidence number 5, place in your evidence document screenshots of the field names and data types used in the table. So I need to go to design view. I'm going to take a screenshot of this, print screen, and I need to paste it in my evidence document. So where's my evidence document? There you go. Okay, the thing about your evidence document is that you need to save it as a Word document. Okay, now the reason why you need to do that is, number one, the file size would be significantly smaller. And then number two, you can actually preserve more formatting compared to if it is saved as a rich text format. So I'm going to save that. And then, because this is evidence number 5, I'm going to paste my screenshot here. And then I'm going to crop it. Okay, so when you crop, you need to make sure that you crop so that important data can be seen. Okay, so I'm going to resize this. Okay, I took an incorrect screenshot. I should have been showing the yes or no display for the paid. Right, so I need to go to paid here and make sure that this yes or no format has been changed. Okay, so I'm going to print screen that again and paste it in again. Crop that. Alright, so I need to make sure that the table name is displayed, all the field names are displayed, the data type is displayed, and the format is displayed. Alright, moving on to question 20. Now this one is kind of a theoretical question, so I'm going to skip that first. I'm going to come back to these questions in another video. Alright, so I'm going to move on to question 21. Import the file m19 courses as a new table in your database. Use these field names and data types. This one is also fairly simple, so we're going to do the same thing. So external data, new data source, from file, I'm going to select text file. browse, and then I'm going to select M219 courses this time. Again, first row contain field names. Advanced, make sure the data types here match that of question 21, so text. Date and time, good. Long integer, okay, like what I mentioned previously, don't change it to short. Text should be kept as short text, so all good. You're going to click next. And then this time the course reference field is the primary key field, so course reference. Okay, I'm going to click finish. Okay, now this table is also a little bit unique because for the start date, right, you are supposed to set it to a particular date format. So DD, YYYY. So I'm going to go to M219 courses, go to design view, and select start date, and then under format, I'm going to type in the date format. So DD, capital M, lowercase YYYY. Okay, so let's have a look and see what happens. There you go. Now, if you see your fields your field data being displayed like that, right? Okay, it doesn't mean that there's an issue. It just means that you need to resize your field for the data to be seen. So I'm going to resize it, and there you go. So DD, YYYY. So that's what the question 21 wants. So I'm going to go to design view again. Make sure that I select my start date, and then the date format is displayed. I'm going to print screen, open my document. And this is evidence 7. I'm going to paste it here again. I'm going to crop it to make sure that all the necessary information is shown. Information pula. Okay. There you go. Alright. So everything is displayed properly. You have your primary key here, and you have your date format here. Okay, now number 22, create a data entry form using all the fields in the students table. The form must display only one record at a time. Okay, so before you create a form, just make sure you close all the tables, because if you don't, Access is going to prompt you and say that the table is open, blah, 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 you can't edit the data, this and that, right? So I'm going to create a table based on the students, create a form based on the students table. So I'm going to create form wizard. Don't really need to do anything here, just move everything over because the question says from all the fields in the students table, right? And I'm just going to give the form a meaningful name. So student form. Okay, so the form is displayed. And then moving on to question 23, it says apply at least 4 features to this form to make the design user-friendly. Okay. Now, the first thing we can change is definitely the form title, and we've done that already. Now, previously it was called M219 students. Now, obviously that is not user-friendly because the user might not know what the hell that means. Okay, so I change it to student form. Now, how do you change it if you forgot to change it previously, right? So you just go to design view, and then you just double click on it and change it. So that will give you 1 mark. And then the next thing you can change are the field names. Okay, so if you look here, it's called roll underscore number first underscore name. That's not exactly user friendly, so we're going to change that as well. So roll underscore number first underscore name, change that, last underscore name, ACC code, course code, and paid. Once done, save, preview it. Looking better. All right, that's your second point. And then the other things we can do to mitigate data entry errors or trying to cut down on data entry errors would be the gender here, right? So because right now the users keying in the data are able to enter any other data other than M or F. All right, they can enter S, they can enter A, B, C, and D, and we don't want that. So how we change that is we need to make this into a combo box, which is something like a drop-down box. Okay, so I go to design view, go to gender, and then I'm going to right-click on it and change it to a combo box. Okay, so I'm going to do that first, resize it. Okay, there you go. Now I need to define the data inside because when the user selects the drop-down box, we want them to be able to select M or F, right? So under the row source type here, I'm going to change it to a value list. Why a value list? Because I'm the one who is going to specify the value. okay, then the question access is going to ask you, okay, fine. Now that you are going to specify the value for the row source, what would the values be? So I just select here and then notice that there's this button with the 3 dots. So I'm going to select that and I'm just going to type M, press enter, and I'm going to type F. So these are the only two values that the users will be able to select. Okay, then I'm going to select OK. Right, what happens if you screw up and for some reason you aren't able to see this 3 dots here? Okay, I've seen some of you have this issue in class the other day. So what you can do is you just right click, change it back to a text box, right click, change it back to a combo box, and you miraculously will be able to have the 3 dots here for you to select again. Why? That's just Microsoft Access. Okay, so I'm going to select that, I'm going to save this, and I'm going to preview my form. Okay, now I can select M or F, but I have not limited the data entry to only M or F. Okay, users can still modify the data here. So what should I do? Okay, I'm going to select the combo box, and then for limit to list, I'm going to change it to yes, so that the values can only be limited to the list. And then for the next one, allow value list edits. I do not want people to be able to edit the value list, so I change it to no. So this means that the only values that can be selected is M or F, and the values that are selected cannot be changed to anything other than M or F. Okay, now that's the third feature. What is the fourth feature? Now if you look at paid here, right, and you view the data, you will notice that the output is yes or no. Right, now I can change it into a radio button if I want to. Now you guys have learned this in your coursework. Okay, so what I can do is I can select my option group. Okay, and what the label names are yes and no. Okay, now so what is the default choice? Okay, which means that if a new record is supposed to be entered, okay, what is the default choice? So I can say, oh well, the default choice is yes. And then what are the values for yes? Now remember, the value for yes is -1 in Access and no is 0. So I'm going to toggle that and change that. Okay, so where do I want to store the values? Once I selected yes or no, I want to store the values in the paid field. Make sense? Next, and then what is the caption? So the caption should be paid. The caption means the label. Okay, so you have this, and so what I can do is I can delete the previous data and take this and put it here. Or maybe I can just resize it. Meh, I don't care. Okay, this is good enough. Alright, so if you save it and you preview it, you will notice that the data entry is only limited to yes and no. So that's your fourth enhancement per se. Now, what kind of other enhancements can you add? Plenty. You can also add things called buttons called record navigation or record operation buttons. So if I select the buttons here, I can just draw a button here, and under record navigation, let's say I want to make it easier for users to navigate between records, right? So I say go to next record. So this becomes a next button, right? I can also add a new button to allow users to go to the previous record. Okay, so that's called your record navigation buttons, and that will give you 1 additional mark. So how does that work? It's basically, it functions essentially the same as the small little buttons here, but to make it more user-friendly, of course, if you put the buttons here, it will be more obvious to the users who are entering the data, right? So next, yay, woo! All right, so I'm going to go to design view again, and I'm going to introduce one more type of button. So I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to use record operation. Now, record operation basically means things that allow you to manipulate the data in the report, in the form, right? So whether you want to add a new record, you want to delete a record, whether you want to duplicate a record, you want to print something, you save something, or undo something, right? So in this example, I'm just going to add in a new record. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to save it and view it. So what does this button do? It's exactly the same as that shiny little yellow button that I told you guys about here. So clicking on it will allow you to enter a new record. All right. Clicking on this will essentially do the same thing. Okay, so that's for question 23. Then we move on to question 24. Use your data entry form to enter this data as a new record. So I'm just going to click that new record button and I'm just going to enter the new data, 296. Gender is male, UJA3, course code A1901, pay is yes. Okay. Now, take screenshot evidence of the form with the new record displayed and place this in your evidence document. Below the screenshot lists the features you have applied to the form to make it user-friendly. Right, so I'm done with a new piece of information. I'm going to take a screenshot and then I'm going to paste it in evidence 8. Okay, so while pasting the form that you created, okay, please take note that you should also preserve the record number. Okay, so what I mean by that is you should preserve the records here, 298 of 298. So that actually shows that you have added in a new record. Okay, so you need to take screenshot of the record that is displayed here. So what did I add to the form? Okay. So feature number 1. Added a new form title. Okay. Modified the field names by removing the underscores to make them more user-friendly. Okay. Converted the gender field to a combo box to reduce data entry errors. Converted the paid field to radio buttons to also reduce data entry errors. And then added in record navigation buttons to make it easier for users to navigate between records, and then added in record operation buttons to make entering a new record easier. Right? So any of any 4 points from these points will actually score you 4 marks. Okay. Now moving on to question 25, import the file m19 rooms.csv as a new table. So we're going to do the same thing over again. So external data, right? Text file again, and then this time I'm going to select m219 rooms. First row contain field names, blah, 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 advanced, text, currency, right? Weekly cost, so you need to change this to currency. Click next. Do I need to choose my own primary key? Yes, I do. I need to choose account code and finish. Okay, so I have 3 tables here, and then evidence 9, place in your evidence document screenshots of the field names and data types used in the table. M219 rooms. Sign view, I'm going to print screen and then open my evidence document again and paste it in. Boom. Alright, there you go. And then question 26, create a one-to-many relationships between the tables using primary key, account code to foreign key, account code, primary key, course reference to foreign key, course code. Okay, so we're going to close all the tables because again, Excel Access would not allow you to create relationships if you have your tables open, right? Under database tools, select relationships, and then I'm going to select add tables. Where are my tables? Ah, here. Okay. So I'm going to select all the tables here. and then I'm going to select Add Selected Table. So all the tables are here, and then now all I need to do is to resize them and to see what needs to be connected to what based on the question. So primary key ACC code. So this is the primary key ACC code to foreign key ACC code. So primary key to foreign key, I'm going to click and drag and drop it here. And then I'm going to enforce referential integrity. Okay, so as you see, there's actually a one-to-many relationship that has just been created between the ACC code, which is a primary key field, to ACC code, which is a foreign key field in another table. And then primary key course reference to foreign key course code. So course ref to foreign key course code. So click and drag, enforce referential integrity, and there you have it. Place in your evidence document screenshots of the relationships showing their type. Okay, so screenshots of the relationship showing their type. So I'm going to double click on the line here. I'm going to take one screenshot between display the relationship between M219 rooms and M219 students. So I'm going to print screen. Paste it here. Oops. Okay, then I'm going to put another screenshot showing the relationship between these two. So you can have multiple screenshots if it is necessary. All right, there you go. Okay, so in the next video, we'll be working on question 27 and 28. Okay, so I'll recommend that you watch the entire video and then attempt the questions. Okay, no point just watching the video and not attempting the questions at all.